Welcome to FO Live. With me, I have two fantastic Israeli guests. Usually, we've been speaking to Josef Olmert. Joseph and I go back a long way. You've heard many of our conversations. Today, we have a buy one, get one free deal. We have Lauren as well. And Joseph needs no introduction. Joseph has been a peace negotiator. He fought in the Yom Kippur War. He is a powerful intellectual. Lauren is an upcoming star. Lauren has written for Fair Observer. Lauren is one of the more astute observers of the Israeli condition. And without further ado, we are going to discuss something important today. We are going to discuss the peace deal, or the so-called peace deal, or the memorandum of understanding, or what some people are calling unconditional surrender. So the topic for today's discussion is US surrenders to Iran, leaving Israel in the dark. Welcome, lady and gentlemen.
Thank you very much for inviting us. I'm so happy to see Lauren finally. I mean, she's brilliant, I tell you. I told you that.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. So, Lauren, we begin with you then. John Authers, who's a legendary Bloomberg columnist, analyst, who was 29 years in the Financial Times, has said that the US has waved the white flag. Donald Trump had talked about unconditional surrender, but it is the US that has done an unconditional surrender. So, before we even begin, paint us a picture of what is going on. What is this truce deal, and why does it matter?
So I'm feeling I'm crashing to a party here, and look, Trump, what he said today, I don't know if he will say that tomorrow. I don't know if he really understands the situation right now. I heard some stuff that he said today during the G7 summit, during his press conference with Prime Minister Modi. He talked about Israel and how fully are we that we want to attack. And
Lauren, I'll stop you, and I want to let our viewers know that we are recording this on Wednesday, June 17th, because things are so fast moving.
Yeah.
As of now, right now as we speak, the BBC headline is US officials reveal details of Iran agreement as Trump says deal could be signed tomorrow. So that is where we are right now. Lauren, over to you. What is the picture right now? Please go ahead.
Oh, I thought that on Friday it's going to be the celebration. As I said before, really, you will never know until something will happen. You tell me now that maybe tomorrow it will sign, but I thought that it's going to be on Friday, and they told us that Israel saw the MOU. Now they told us they didn't saw the MOU. Frankly, I think that we need to focus on the implications, because in the end, Israel needs to face right now with a difficult implication. We fought until yesterday that Trump with us, that he is the most Zionist president of USA for Israel, for the better of Israel. And now we need to see how we're going to handle this situation. I don't have enough power, effort to think the way Trump is thinking.
No, let me stop you. Let's not get into Trump initially, okay?
Yeah.
Joseph, let me move it over to you. The Tehran Times does not say there is a peace deal. You know it. I wrote a newsletter which was published today. The Tehran Times says there's a memorandum of understanding. So before we even get into the discussion, please paint us a picture of what's going on, where we are, and why is this significant or
What is
consequential?
happening now, and I'll be very categorical because usually we are in this program with you, Atul. What is happening now is that the US under Donald J. Trump is eager to come to an agreement with Iran almost at all costs in order to prevent what apparently, as I understand from leaks that were not denied, Trump says to his the people that he talks to in Vienna, in France, and he says that he does all that because he wanted to prevent a worldwide repetition of the depression of the 1920s, early 1930s, no less than that. Donald J. Trump caved in to the one Trump card used by Iran, which is the Straits of Hormuz. Something that could have been anticipated, something that should have been anticipated, something that was totally ignored by the American planners of what happened with Iran, something that indicates to us that in the end of the day, from the perspective of Donald J. Trump, the only criteria that really matters is the combination of the financial economic implications of the situation and the ramifications of all that on the domestic situation in Iran. And just very briefly, from the last 3 days, I picked up each day one of the tweets that Trump wrote, which indicates that apparently what Lauren said to us, that God knows what we know about Trump is what we don't know about him. For example, 3 days ago, he says, I didn't care about regime change in Iran. I don't care about that. Okay. Then, a day later, he talked about the new leadership in Iran, which, by the way, he doesn't know them. He never met them. He never talked to them. Who are they? But he talks about them. They take good care of their people, which is a slap in the face of 42,000 Iranians that paid their lives going to the streets, among other reasons, because Trump, the leader of the free world, so-called, told them to go to the streets and help will come. And today, why won't Iran have ballistic missiles? Everybody else does. So let me ask you a question. As you know, Jews, when they are asked questions, they return the question by asking, so what was this war all about? What was this war all about? The agreement, as leaked, doesn't have a word about the ballistic missiles, doesn't have a word about Iran's support to the Shia axis in the Middle East, and basically doesn't have a word about finishing off the uranium that he said about that would be taken away, the 460 kilograms. So what did we go to war about? What was this war about? And the tragedy is, and I'll end up here, so I'll give you the ball for the next round, if you will, from an Israeli perspective, and I wrote about it already, pardon me for quoting myself, Israel has no way to politically oppose this agreement in terms of what American public opinion is, because the bipartisan support for Israel is destroyed, because the Israeli government under Netanyahu is afraid to take sides which will sound like they are against Trump, so nobody will arouse the pro-Israel camp in the US. Where are the evangelicals? Where is the Republican Party? In the end of the day, Trump doesn't pay any political price in the US for what he's doing that in Israel people consider to be a betrayal.
If I may add,
very quickly.
Okay, I just want to say that the risk for Israel, leave all aside. The big risk now is not the escalation right now. It's going to be rounds of escalation, the normalization of this escalation. This is the big threat on Israel, and we don't pay enough attention for that. This is what really the people in Israel are very concerned about that.
All right. So before we crack on, it's important to quote what people are saying, what analysts are saying. Okay, and one of the things that almost everybody is saying, and these include seasoned analysts of the Middle East as well as intelligence officers. And they say that, look, John Authers is right. This is basically an unconditional surrender by the US. What did the US achieve? Well, the US did kill Ayatollah Khamenei, but yes, remember the Ayatollah was an old man, a very old man, and the
By the
US.
way, it was killed by the Israelis.
Okay, well, okay, the Israelis
No, but
killed.
that's what
Okay,
happened.
Yeah,
okay,
but
fine.
wait until he say he did that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wait,
he already says
wait.
it, by the way.
Don't
Okay.
hold your breath.
He already says it.
I
Okay.
already said okay.
So the point is, let's assume the US got Israel to kill, but doesn't matter. The point is, Israel and the US have made a martyr out of by killing a very old man. He was a dying man. They have is the
But
US
it's a
has.
symbol. You need to remember that it's a symbol.
I'm quoting what people are saying, so I don't need to remember anything. Frankly, I'm just saying I'm reflecting the views, and you can go and tell them in your own time, Lauren, what they need to remember. But the point, however, is that they say that the US made a martyr out of, or the Israel made a martyr out of killing a very old man. More importantly, the US has dropped its goal of regime change, dodged the issue of denuclearizing Iran, agreed to release blocked funds, and kicked the issue of Iran charging tolls at the Strait of Hormuz into the long grass. So fundamentally, Iran has got everything it wanted. And the cliche that Iran has never won a war and ever lost a negotiation rings true today. So Iran has everything it wants because Iran was clear about its long-term strategic goal: survive and inflict pain on the global economy through the Strait of Hormuz, whilst the US was brilliant tactically, but there was no long game, and the US went into war in a hurry, poorly planned, poorly thought through war strategy. And now the US wants peace before the July 4th celebrations and long before the midterms. And Iran has everything it wants. The US has abandoned what it wanted, and Israel is hung out to dry. That is the word on the street. And yes, you can say they need to remember this or that. But the reality is, at the end of this conflict, as Joseph said in the last interview, Israel has lost diplomatically.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so has the US, and Iran seems to be on the ascendant. Over to you.
It's a defeat. A defeat. Unconditional defeat by US and Israel. And I said it before. I say it now. I'm so sad to say it. I'm so sad to say it. And I would love to be wrong about it. I wish to be wrong. No, I'm not wrong. Look. Take, for example, the question of the Shia axis. And I'll talk about Lebanon. You know, I've dealt with Lebanon in various capacities for 45 years. I've had one or two Lebanese moments, okay? Without getting into details. Three times, we are about to defeat Hezbollah. Who stops us?
Yeah.
Donald J. Trump. And then they tell us that they do it in order to advance peace with Lebanon. What is this stupidity, this idiotic approach of saying we are going to advance peace with Lebanon by preventing the force that is against peace from being destroyed? I mean, it's like 1 and 1 is 3. It's new mathematics, it's new political science, it's new Lebanon. And let me tell you something. I'm aware of all the talk in Lebanon on television, in any other outlet of the media, by government ministers, even by the president, with all due respect to him, and like the prime minister, by the way, that was the guy in the International Court in The Hague, and now is prime minister of Lebanon, not a great friend of Israel. Okay, I am aware of all that. Yes, the talk is about Hezbollah. But you know why the talk was like that? Because they expected Israel to finish Hezbollah off. And you asked me before, Atul, how can you destroy an ideology? And I told you, you cannot destroy an ideology, but you can destroy or diminish considerably the power of those who uphold this ideology and use it to achieve their purposes. And we were about to do that with Hezbollah. America under Trump prevented us from doing so, and therefore killed the opportunity of having anything progressed between us and Lebanon politically, and therefore maintains the Iranian axis, at least as Lebanon is concerned. Weakened, but it's still there. Iraq is still in the axis. The Houthis are still in the axis. And people tell me, but Assad is not there. It had nothing to do with Israel or America, what happened in Syria. It had to do with Turkey. And Turkey is not on our side. And our side, I mean the US and Israel. Turkey is on the side of Turkey, which is another story altogether. So
you've raised Syria, and I sent you a clip from the BBC last night. And President Donald J. Trump, has said, well, Israel is using disproportionate force in Syria. In Lebanon.
Yes.
And if, Israel can't do the job properly, then they can always turn to the new leader, Ahmad al-Shara, or Jolani, his previous Islamic State.
Do you expect me to react to that?
Absolutely. I expect you to react.
You really
Lauren
want me to react to that?
Absolutely.
Give me 30 seconds to kind of relax.
Lauren, why don't you say something about that comment of the US president?
Okay, go ahead, Lauren.
To say kind of things like that, it's not to understand the Middle East. Really, it's not to understand the conflict here. And look, we're talking about Lebanon, we are talking about Syria, we are not talking about Gaza. And this is the big questions, what's going on there. I mean, I must remind you, all of this started October 7, and now we are only talking about Lebanon. But of course, it's a big issue, of course, but what about Hamas? You cannot go to Syria, you cannot solve the things on Lebanon and leave Gaza outside of that. Israel now, it's in Hebrew we say balagan, it's a very big mess because we don't have one agreement. We didn't finish, not Hamas, not Hezbollah, not Iran right now. So I can understand how people look on Israel right now. And unfortunately, this is a disaster because October 7 was really, I have no words to explain how terrible and awful it was. And 2 years and a half after that, I need to explain myself. I need to explain the logical of Israel foreign policy. And I'm sorry, I cannot do it. It's very difficult and it's very complex. And this is one of really our big failure. It's not Iran. It's not Lebanon. It's not Syria. It's not Giuliani. It's not neither of that. It's what the strategy. And I know everyone is asking that. And people here in Israel say, don't talk about strategy, talk about tactics. Look how much effort we are doing. Look how much success IDF. Yeah, of course, IDF succeed a lot. But on the high level, we did not succeed in anything. And this is the big problematic. I don't see how Israel can fix that. And I don't think even the new election will fix that. We don't have strategy. We don't know where we are going. And Syria, oh, come on, it's...
No, but look,
Trump.
Sorry to interrupt you here, but out of agreement with you, of course. He said also that, look at this guy in Syria. He united Syria in a year and a half. Genocide against the Druze was prevented by Israel. Mini genocide against the Alawis has taken place and still is, but nobody cares. The Kurds are being stopped only because of the pressure of Turkey. So the level of ignorance and misunderstanding about what's happening is unbelievable. But you know what? Lauren is so right about it because, we Israelis don't need to complain about others. We need to talk about ourselves. And the fact of the matter is that under Netanyahu, that's a fact. For this or that reason, I don't want to get into the personal issues now, the letter of pardon, which is terrible and all that. Netanyahu closed every option for Israeli activity, diplomatic activity, other than total reliance on Donald Trump, and therefore lost his ability to do what should have been done in a situation like that. And this is to say to Trump, until now. Look, I need to tell you, I worked with a prime minister called Yitzhak Shamir. And I was very close to him. I was a political appointment. And, I said to him, Prime Minister, we had personal meetings very frequent. And I said to him, Prime Minister, I have a question to you. Why have you negotiated with James Baker for 8 months before you said yes to go to Madrid Peace Conference? Although we knew that we are going to go there. He said, young man, you don't understand anything. You never say yes just like that. You say no, and you fight about every word and every detail, and then you achieve as close as you can to what you wanted to achieve. It's a little lesson in diplomacy. And Yitzhak Shamir was neither the great English speaker, even though he learned the language at a late age, to his credit. And Netanyahu, that has been taken to be the diplomatic magician, made the most fundamental error that a leader can make, and this is to put himself in a narrow corner and to expect that he, the junior partner in the alliance, would be able to decide for the senior partner, the Americans, and with a guy like Trump. So Lauren is absolutely right. And perceptions in the Middle East will change. They've changed to Israel's favor for a while. They will change again against Israel because it will be understood, even by friends of us like the UAE and others, that Israeli dependence on America is such that you go to the big boss rather than go to the junior partner. And the big boss right now says basically, very simply, Israel is in my pocket. I have to deal with others. Qatar will invest over $1 trillion in America. Qatar will not invest anything like that in America, but he says it, which is, it is where the emphasis is going to be. Look, what we are witnessing now, that will be my last line here. What we are witnessing now is an attempt, whether intentionally designed like that or not, by Trump to create a new world order. And in this world order, Israel has no real role.
When we had a real wall in the new order,
we had a role when we were independent enough to decide when we can say yes, but, or no, but. And
when
today,
when Israel were
I gave you an example about what happened after the Gulf War. Because when the Americans said to Israel at that time, do not interfere in the war against Iraq, even if they attack you, do not respond, because then it will play to the hands of Saddam Hussein. Prime Minister Shamir said to the Americans, I have 12 demands from you in order to say yes, and they agreed to 11. I won't tell you what was the one they did not agree to. Can Netanyahu come today to Trump and say to him, I have 12 demands before I say yes to the agreement with Iran? Well, here is the difference. Just one example. You see, Lauren, that's the experience of being old.
You say that you work with Yitzhak Shamir, and just like, no, you look so young.
Thank you very much. That's a compliment, by the way. My wife should have heard it.
I'll stop you both and say that I'll answer Lauren's question, if I may, even though I'm not an Israeli. Operation Diamond, 1966. That is well before I was born, but I've read a wee bit about it. Operation Diamond, Lauren, is the moment in Israeli-US history when Israel becomes super important to the US because they managed to get an Iraqi fighter jet pilot to defect. He flies with his MiG-21, and now the US has access to the plane, the technology, the engines, the materials, everything, flight navigation systems, everything. And so now, from 1966 on, Israel has a role in Cold War American Soviet politics, and it is a fundamental role. 1 year later, Israel wins the Six-Day War, 1967. In 1973, Israel manages to stop Egyptian advance and, in fact, turns the tide, and it's Ariel Sharon who plays a big role. And Henry Kissinger flies back and forth inventing the word shuttle diplomacy. And of course, at some point, there is the peace deal. Anwar Sadat, making peace, and Egypt flipping from the Soviets to the Americans. So Israel had a big role post 1966. 48 to 66 was the formation of Israel, but Israel was socialist and mistrusted in the US, as Joseph has pointed out many a time. But 66 on, Israel did have a role. 2026, 60 years later, it seems you don't have a role. And I was speaking to someone I can't quote for a long time yesterday, and we've discussed that in private, and he said he's never seen opinion turn against one country so quickly as he has seen against Israel. And he talked about the figure on the right. What's his name? I'm blanking. The television personality. Tucker Carlson appearing on Cenk Uyghur's Young Turks to discuss Israel. And now what is happening is the horseshoe. On the left, there is a strong belief that Israel is an apartheid state. Look at Zohran Mamdani. Israel indulges in genocide. If not genocide, Israel is certainly guilty of massive human rights abuses. On the right, there is this suspicion that the tail is wagging the dog, that Netanyahu managed to pressure Donald Trump into war through sheer manipulation, and Bibi Netanyahu has been hectoring the Congress and threatening Barack Obama. And the time has come when the tail cannot wag the dog. And so the tide of public opinion has shifted even in America, particularly in policy circles, against Israel. Over to you.
This is what I said before. This is exactly the big problem of Israel right now, that we cannot illustrate our situation and to explain ourselves. You know, it's funny. Today, earlier, I met someone that he came to Israel for the first time, and he said, every time I heard that, the things that I heard before, when I come here and I look around and I travel in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, whatever, it's very different. And this exactly what's the big failure of Israel, that we need to explain ourselves. I don't think that other countries after October 7 will need to explain themselves, but we need to do it. The man I talked to him, he told me, I went to Kfar Aza, to the south, to the kibbutz where the massacre was happened. And he told me, I can see the fear on the people's eyes, and I can see they are not coming back, and what they are feeling. And I was like, but you saw that. Now, how can I explain to the whole world right now? And of course, after Lebanon, after Iran, it's much more difficult to do it. And the situation right now, it's nothing new. You said it before. What happened now in the domestic political in US, that we are no longer, not that we were, in the priority, but we are no longer in the consensus. And I think leave aside Lebanon, leave aside Iran, this is our big problem.
So my question to both of you is, number one, did Israel overextend itself militarily? And number two, did Israeli diplomacy under Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu go spectacularly wrong? Over to you.
Look, Atul, as it seems now, you can argue, of course, Israel has extended itself militarily because it's fighting in so many fronts, but of course it was imposed upon Israel. And, you have no choice but to fight back when you are attacked. Look, it was in January of 2015. Speaker Boehner, who, by the way, I met personally, announced that he invites Bibi Netanyahu to talk in Congress. I immediately wrote an article against getting biting gifts. So it's not like I'm retrospectively tell you. This was the turning point. Netanyahu is not responsible for what happened in American public opinion. This is a culmination of processes that have been around for years, demographic, cultural, sociological, whatever. But when you are Prime Minister of Israel, and you know that this is the situation because he does know America. He does know America. Look, I need to tell you something. He's brilliant intellectually. Tragedy happened to him, but that's another story.
No, you've mentioned that. You've mentioned
I
on the
said it to
record.
you before. He
Yeah.
knows America. So what are you doing in a
And
situation
he's well
like
read.
this?
You've said you've had many discussions with him
Yeah,
about
and
all the
I'm
classics
telling
you've
you,
read.
yeah, but that's the point. That's the tragedy. So what do you do in a situation like that? Are you trying to slow down the process? Are you trying to fight back? Are you trying to cultivate whatever relationship you can, to look for whatever allies you can, or you allow it to happen and by saying, look, but that's what happens. What can I do? That's what he did. He became associated completely with the Republican Party. And by the way, AIPAC followed suit as well. Let's be honest about that. So, therefore, politically speaking, and that doesn't need
APAC
to understand it.
APAC for those of our viewers who don't know is
The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, the pro-Israel lobby, which is like any other lobby, works for whatever purpose, and that's an American phenomenon. But they became very strong because they cultivated in the old days the bipartisanship. But as of 2015, 2016, you see the gradual erosion. And when Trump ran for president for the first time, he already then made statements that were red lights. And after Charlottesville, when there are good people in both sides, the side that raises the swastikas, the humble servant, I wrote an article about that, but it's not about what I said or not. It was so obvious what is happening. And Lauren is right. We may be too late now. So one of the solutions here, obviously, is to decide on priorities. Now, right now, there is no way that Netanyahu can fight effectively against this agreement. What can he do? I mean, go after Iran militarily, escalate in Lebanon? No. Israel has interesting alliances that are shaping up in other parts of the world. One of them may be with India. Maybe we should do more than just cultivate personal relations with Mr. Modi, but
Not maybe, we should do
Balkans,
more.
in South America, Somaliland. We've got to look for ways in order to show that we are still alive and kicking, and that is a process. It will take time. In terms of public opinion, here I have a little difference with Lauren. As somebody who did so-called Asbara for Israel, Asbara is a tool of policy. If you change policy, Asbara will become easier or more difficult. There is no question about the fact that we have become associated with troubles, wars, conflicts, and there are ways to show that there are other faces for Israel. It will not pay dividends immediately, but it will take time. There are changes in some European countries that are in our favor. Look at what happened in Slovenia and all that. So I don't want to get into all the details. What I'm saying is we've got to realize how bad the situation is. In order to resolve a problem, you have to accept that there is a problem and how deep it is. Netanyahu basically says there is no problem. Look at his appearance 2 days ago, the video he presented, the press conference he made and all that. Apparently, almost everything is great. So
I want to suggest something.
Yeah, so he has to go first. That's the point. That's how we start. He has to go. And then we can do all the things that I just talked about, which will take time. Lauren, look, That's the young generation. That's the future.
You are amazing. I want to suggest something. IMEC. IMEC could be a great solution because leave it aside the Asbara and whatever. IMEC will prove to the world that we are serious, that we are pragmatic, that having, after all this Arab
Explain both Asbara and IMEC.
I
Yeah.
think it's a corridor that India, Europe corridor that moving through UAE, Saudi, and Jordan and Israel. In J20, the summit in September 2023, Biden and
I'll
Modi.
just break it down. India, Middle East, Europe corridor.
Yeah, sorry.
That
Middle.
the economic corridor, and the
Yeah,
idea
yeah.
is
Would you
that
call it the alternative to the Chinese?
Belt and Road. Yeah, it's very late here in Israel right now, so excuse me. So this initiative, it's very important because it can make Israel as the ecosystem of security, energy. It's not replace Hormuz, of course, but it will diverse the supply chain, and Israel is the center of that. And it will make Saudi a normalization relationship with us, a greater relationship with Europe for Israel, and of course India. So we only need that thing to pay a serious attention for that, to do something pragmatic. The Israeli government must say, okay, we are dealing with Syria, we are dealing with Lebanon, we are dealing with Gaza, we're dealing with Iran, etc., etc., etc. But now we need to do pragmatic things that are not they are not act of wars. They are something that will benefit to the world. And it's not a cliche, okay? IMEC, it's a very serious innovation. Now Turkey and Syria are talking about corridor. Saudi and the French talking about corridor. It's not a zero game. You can diverse this supply chain, and it's very important. I think this current West Asia crisis really emphasize the importance of that, and this what will make Israel important again. This what will make Israel not great again, but put her on the map, because of course normalization with Saudi, but it will make India and Israel deepen the relationship, UAE and Israel, Jordan and Israel, and maybe, God forbid, maybe the Palestine will be part of that. So this is what we need, not social media, influence, etc. We need something pragmatic that the Israeli government will take it in serious and will show to the world that we are here. And we are not just on wars all the time, that we are doing something for the benefit for the world.
so you're basically saying trade, not war, is the way forward.
It's not, no,
Yeah.
I think that she says beyond that. I think that
Yeah.
look, I told you she's brilliant. What she says really is to make Israel relevant in ways that are worthwhile for partners. They should include also the military aspect, strategic aspect of it, as you can see, say, with Greece and Cyprus, But the point really is that the priorities have to change.
Yeah.
And for that, you have to have a different strategic approach that could be
You need
achieved by a
strategy.
different
Not
government.
another. You need strategy.
Yeah, by another government. Look, it's not
But
about
here's,
left and right.
let me very quickly interrupt.
If I may just 1 second, and then it's not about left and right in Israel, because most of the anti-Netanyahu coalition are right wingers. Lieberman, tell him that he's leftist, he will be insulted, and Bennett and so on and so forth. But if you have a policy which says that every hill in Judea and Samaria, and I say Judea and Samaria, not the West Bank, I say it, is more important than God knows what, then that's what happens. That has to change. That has to change. I think that's what Lauren meant. I mean, changing the overall strategic posture by showing relevance in areas which are not just military. They will be also, but not just.
Now, you're both arguing for a change in some ways of national culture because Israel is so brilliant tactically, because Israel can pull rabbits out of the hat, whether it is pagers blowing up in Lebanon against Hezbollah fighters or Iranian nuclear scientists dying in spectacular attacks, or for that matter, Hamas officials dying in Tehran. Uh, the reality is that Israel has thought the long term is nothing but a succession of short term measures. And what you're saying is that we cannot be tactical, we as in you mean Israelis, we have to be strategic. And my question to you is, given proportional representation, given fractured coalition governments, given the fact that you've had a growth in population of the religious elements in society, the secular Jews haven't bred as much, is Israel even in a position to be a more strategic country? Or are we everywhere in the world, whether it is the US or UK or India, living in the world of X, formerly known as Twitter, where people now have smaller attention spans than that of goldfishes?
Very quickly, I tell you, because then let's hear Lauren. I told you she is the future. Yes, you know
You're
how.
the future of the future. You're the sage who
No,
will
no,
inspire unborn children yet to come.
she just told me that her professor retired was whoever that was my student. So it's a generational gap here. Look, here is a different. Here is an answer to you, a very concrete one. Let 1 million more Jews come to Israel from the West because of anti-Semitism, and you will see what a change it is. And you know what?
Brilliant.
That can happen. That should become now the number one challenge for new Zionism, and that can be achieved. That can be achieved. And anti-Semitism has become such that it is out of control. It's an hysteria. It is a wave. And for many Jews, it is a sober, painful realization. And that's part of the answer to your question. But Lauren.
Joseph, you know that retired CIA officer Glenn Carl, who's my co-author for over a decade, he and I, in one of our FO exclusives, which is a monthly recap of the most important events of the month, we talked about rising anti-Semitism, not just in the US, but also in Europe and indeed elsewhere.
Yes, well,
And what you're painting is a really dark picture. What you're saying is that you need immigrants from Western Europe again to renew the Zionist project.
what I'm saying is that that we need in Israel what happened in the late 1980s, early 1990s with the Russian immigration. We need an injection of fresh blood, fresh ideas, fresh approach. This is what happens when when a society is in crisis, you look for solutions. And you cannot continue. Remember what Einstein said. You don't just do all the time what failed and believe that this time it will succeed.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, it's going to happen. It is going to happen. Jews are starting to move. Jews are starting to realize that they should invest more in Israel because that is more safe for them and so on and so forth. Things are happening. Things will happen more, but they have to be encouraged. They have to become the challenge. They have to become the vision. We
But
lack
Joseph,
visions.
if I may, a counter push is also happening. You have lots of very clever Jewish entrepreneurs leaving Israel.
Yes, the numbers are not as good as they could be. They are not as bad as they are described. Look, altogether, the Israeli population is always growing. So the tendency is in that direction. You're right about that. Look, it's a global village, as they say, and you cannot stop the spread of technology and limit it to a particular geography. But look, when NVIDIA says that Israel is our strategic partner, this is the direction, or a direction.
Understood. Lauren,
You're absolutely right. But
Find
I'm much more pessimist than him because I don't think there is a lot of people that come to Israel right now or want to come to Israel. I don't see how people live whatever in the world say, "Oh, I want to go to Israel right now with my
You'll
family."
be surprised. You will be
Okay, I
surprised,
will be
Lauren.
surprised. Okay.
I'm telling you. Because anti-Semitism, you can't even imagine how bad
Yeah,
it
but
is.
Joseph, but if
It's
I will agree
terrible.
with you, but if I will agree with you on everything that you say, he won't publish this video. Okay, be with me. I know what I'm doing.
no, I mean, between the two of you, on a serious note, you are capturing two very
Wasn't it
distinct.
serious until now?
It
Yeah.
wasn't. It wasn't. But on a serious note, what you're capturing is the two elements that are jostling cheek by jowl. On the one hand, there are Israelis who are leaving Israel, the secular Israelis, and moving to, say, Spain and chasing their startup dreams, and they want more security. And then there are a lot of Jews who are feeling the pinch of anti Semitism and considering moving to Israel. Now, which of those trends cancels out the other? The jury is still out. We shall continue our discussion again. It's been wonderful to have both of you. Thank you for your time. We will let you go back to football, Joseph. You've sacrificed the first half of England and Croatia. And for an Arsenal man with many players of his team playing, that's a huge sacrifice.
But we both gained, Lauren.
Indeed.
That's what happened, you see. So always look at the positive side of everything. See,
Excellent.
the new
Very good.
generation
You
of
will invite me
Israeli
next
scholars, and let me tell you something. Israeli scholars, they feel now the pain of what happens. So much brilliance is wasted in the world because of anti-Semitism. And what can you do? What can you do? But that's what happened, Lauren. Therefore, I'm telling you, you have to realize there is a movement that is underneath. You will see it will come out because anti-Semitism is beyond what anything could have expected. It is, you know what? South Carolina, where I'm based, already starting to change also.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who've been listening to us, you've heard that the peace deal is all Iran's way. The US has lost, in Joseph's words. Israel has been left out. Israel is a society in crisis. Joseph is more optimistic. Lauren is more pessimistic. If only for viewers on the video, we will have both of them back. We'll continue this conversation. Thank you very much. If you've liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, press the bell icon, go to our website, sign up for the newsletter, and we will see you anon. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Bye-bye.
Join the conversation at Fair Observer and subscribe to our YouTube channel.